Hello and welcome back to Her Side of the Ruck. I'm Tash.
I'm Bernice.
And we're not pundits.
We're just two women who know what a ruck is.
We might have taken a brief break for a fortnight, but we are back and the rugby international action has been popping off. In this episode, we're going to dissect the British and Irish Lions' first test match against the Wallabies and also the Springboks match against Georgia. Let us start off with test one, Lions versus the Wallabies. I don't think it was the match that a lot of Lions fans were expecting, Bernice, and I think the silence in the stadium in Brisbane kind of summarised that. What were your thoughts from a SA end on that game?
First of all, I think congrats to the Lions. They did end up on the winning side, so which makes the series 1-0 to them. So yeah, congrats to them. I think from like the Wallabies point of view, they would obviously not be very happy with the performance. And yeah, I think they would definitely look into making a lot of changes this upcoming week. They're looking to change maybe Ben Donaldson, put him back in the squad, Will Skelton, and then Rob Valentini, which I think would probably make a big difference. And I know that a lot of people did comment on the poor selection of the Wallabies, and I think it showed, unfortunately. And also the inexperience of the halfback pair. And yeah, I have to say, I really felt for Lynach. Like, he didn't have a great performance, but yeah, just the inexperience showed.
Oh, yeah. And it's interesting because there's been a couple of Northern Hemisphere critics, particularly ex-England and ex-Leicester Tigers scrum half Ben Youngs. On his podcast, they basically went, well, why are the Wallabies making excuses? They were the ones who had time. Like, it's not like the Lions tour crept up on them. These are his words, not mine. But I very much agree with his sentiment. It's not like, wow, in 4 years' time, you didn't know that this tour was going to be coming to your country, did you? But at the same time, the Australian Rugby Union seemed to be in a little bit of a crisis. I think there's probably a lack of funding, maybe in a similar way that we saw with the WRU. But that's not an excuse. And when it comes down to selections and you're not picking selections that you know work together at club level, let's take the Hugh Pilotu combo. So they're the Glasgow Warriors and the Scottish centre combo, arguably the best centre combo on the planet at the minute. I just think they know each other so well. Their styles complement each other. I'm not just saying that as a Warriors fan and someone who's worked with them, both class men and both class players. But it makes sense to keep them together. And I think when Andy Farrell tried to do the Bundy Aki and the Sotu Pilotu combo against Argentina in the warm-up game in Dublin, it didn't really work out for them because one, they're not used to playing together, which is always a difficulty on a Lions tour, but two, they're also classic 12s. So why would you split up the Huey Pilotu combo? And then you add Finn Russell into that, and they play together at Scotland all the time. That makes sense. That is a great selection choice because these guys play together all the time. It's the same if you have the Northampton Saints boys. You don't split up Finn Smith and Alex Mitchell, and then you change Tommy Freeman on the wing. If you're going to have one of them, you might as well, apart from Freeman, obviously Freeman started on the wing against Australia on Saturday. But if you're going to have Finn Smith, you have him with Alex Mitchell because they know what they're going to do. They played with each other at club and country, and that makes sense. And Australia didn't seem to make that selection.
Yeah, and I think on the Finn Russell thing and also the Sione Tuipulotu and Hugh Jones combo, like they just worked so well together and you could see it. Finn Russell's decision making and his passing were pinpoint and you could see
so
that
good.
So good. And he knew exactly what he was doing because he knew Hugh Jones and Sione Tuipulotu. So the interplay of like them together was just outstanding. And I think Tom Curry made a huge difference. There were also a lot of talks around Jack Morgan not being in the team, and you know the first British and Irish Lions team in such a long time to not have a Welshman in the side. And I think Tom Curry proved the people wrong. He did so well, and his tackling, his hard tackling, was insane and outstanding. And I think when he was subbed, you could actually see the difference.
Yeah, just pick up on a couple of things you said there. The back line of the Lions, magical hands, and Finn Russell was the magician on that one. Not going to make too many magician jokes. I know Harry Potter is on the wing for the Aussies, and I remember when he used to play for Leicester that Austin Healey was always like, oh, I don't want to make a magic joke about Potter, but then he'd make about 3 magic jokes in a row. So that's the only magic joke I'll make in this episode. But magical hands, the delayed pass for the first try to serve to Pilotu, delayed pass from Finn Russell was stunning. Thing of magic. I also thought James Lowe, some of his offloads were fantastic and complemented, particularly where Hugh Jones was in that back line. Curry stepped up big time. He was everywhere, scored a try. I think he put a lot of critics, he silenced a lot of critics. He put that to bed. And Jack Morgan has stepped up on this tour. I was surprised that he was included in the Lions squad. Overall, I thought there were other Welsh back rows that could have stepped up in his position instead. But Jack Morgan's performed very well on the tour so far. But Tom Curry has just gone, that 7 jersey is mine and I want it. And he's proven that. But there's maybe a little bit of worry about a couple of injuries. I don't know if Tom Curry will be fully fit. I don't see him starting in the match midweek. Plus, there might be a niggle that prevents him from starting in the next match this weekend. However, there's still so many great back rowers in that team, so it kind of doesn't matter. Let's talk about some of the positives from both teams. I think my overall view would be that both sides had peaks. It wasn't like they were going at each other constantly. Like when we think about some of the greatest matches of all time, when we think about international rugby, it doesn't necessarily need to be the Lions, but when you think about classic matches against Springboks versus the All Blacks, it's kind of this constant back and forth, this pushing each other. As it seemed in this test match, the Lions v the Wallabies, that one team had dominance for about 15 minutes and then another team would have dominance, rather than it being really competitive in the middle of the field and then going back and forth. It just felt like one team had a high, then they had a low, which allowed the other team to have a high. And it was like these constant highs and lows. I don't know what your thoughts on the match overall and what some of the positives you took away from that game.
Yeah, I think that's a very good summary of like overall of the match. I think in the start of the match, there were a lot of errors, a lot of handling errors on both ends. So probably would be frustrating for both of the teams, but Australia didn't really have a good start. They didn't have a good first half. I think they were a lot better in the second half. But it just felt like they couldn't really find each other. I think the Lions worked together so well. And I know they had a lot of matches where they could prepare, but also Andy Farrell were testing some of the combinations. So I think the Lions had a good first half. I think it was just the other way around. So the Lions had a good first half, and then in the second half, the second test is going to be so good. I can't wait for the second test because I think on both teams there will be a lot of improvements. So yeah, I think overall it was a good performance. You know, the Lions are 1-0 up in the series, but I think Australia's backs are against the wall and they will be looking to take the win this weekend. And yeah, I think they didn't really have anything to lose. But yeah, I think they don't really have a choice but to win this weekend. Otherwise, it's just 2-0 and then the Lions take the series. So
yeah, and then I suppose if it becomes 2-0, Faz is just going to put out a kind of a crazy squad. You might as well play and definitely start Pollock. I don't see Pollock starting against the match this weekend in the second test, but in the third test, definitely, particularly if the Lions go 2-0 up, because he brings the media attention. He always does. We say it, we've jumped on the hype train for him because there's a reason behind it. Saints also launched their new kit with him as well, obviously one of the adverts, because why wouldn't you? There's a picture of him going like this, and it's just like, well done. As a club, they hopped onto that trend so well. Some things that I wrote down here, I thought Jack Conan had an excellent game, just getting underneath that ball to hold it up, disallowing the second or third Aussie try, I can't remember exactly, but when they watched over the replay, you saw Jack Conan just kind of get underneath. That was just amazing defense. So I thought he played exceptionally well. Let's talk about the bench. I know we talk a lot about the importance of impact benches, but the bench wasn't the explosion that a bomb squad needs. There wasn't really a bomb squad from the Lions. When we talk about the Springboks bomb squad, their ammunition is there, their firepower is there. It wasn't there with the Lions. And as you said, Bernice, I just think that the momentum didn't improve 50, 60 minutes in. I think the substitution for Chesham around probably just after halftime. Actually, he is a major line out disruptor. But I
Mm.
just feel like the other substitutions, I mean, Marcus kicks a couple of easy penalties, the right decision. I thought he did a good job coming off the bench, and it's right to play him at fly half. Why are you playing him at fullback? Because he's not a fullback. Play him as the position he's played for his entire career, basically. But I just feel like the bench didn't come on with a bang. And in other matches, I have seen people come off the bench with a bang. So that impact, I think, is something that needs to be worked on, particularly because the Wallabies will definitely improve in the next test. Stats breakdown. Only 83% of the scrums were won by the Lions, or they only won 83% of their scrums, which I think is incredibly disappointing, actually, because when they lost to Argentina in that warm-up game, very narrow there, a couple of fluky passes, lots of knock-ons. Farrell's obviously testing out combos that he wants to put out for his test team. But the scrum was so good. It was so dominant. And you just think if you can beat the Lost Pumas up front, you're going to destroy the Wallabies up front. And that wasn't the case. And I was really surprised. Ellis Genge, who is normally a top-class scrummager, collapsed twice, although I thought his carrying was good. It was also a bit one-dimensional. The baby rhino, he's just like charging for it, go for it, which is great. And me and my dad are there going like, go on, Genji, go on, go on, go on. But it's just like, it's not really tactful. And I also think some of the offloads weren't offloaded at the right time, which is a contrast to when I watched the Springbok highlights, where the Springboks offloaded at the right time. And that selfishness, it seemed that there was a bit of selfishness in the Lions. I don't know if that's a harsh way of describing it, but I thought that should have been offloaded, or maybe on a positive side, you're so determined that you want to score a try that you just think you can push and get over the line, when actually a critic on the outside could say you're better off offloading that ball.
Yeah, and I think it's frustrating when fans watch and you sit there and you can see the gaps, or you can see there's an opportunity to score a try if you just offload the ball. So I think there's definitely frustration, and that's probably something Andy Farrell will discuss with them in the video session. Sure. But yeah, I think from the bench point of view and the impact of the bench, I think it was exactly the opposite again. So the Lions bench didn't have the impact, whereas Australia's bench, I thought Tate McDermott was outstanding. And I think Tate McDermott should start for the Aussies. And I think him together with Ben Donaldson, hopefully next week, they will probably have a bigger impact than compared to Lionel. So yeah, no, definitely not the impact that the Lions would have wanted. And yeah, as we've mentioned, Tom Curry being replaced, you could clearly see the impact of him not being there, which will be missed if he doesn't start this weekend, definitely. So yeah, and I definitely think that the Wallabies had more opportunities in the second half.
Absolutely. And their wingers, Harry Potter, Max Jorgensen, two standout players for me. They were so determined. I said in one of my TikTok videos that it's unlucky that Potter did a chip and chase and the ball just bounced in the wrong direction, just into touch. So, but you could see that determination from the back line. I just think the cohesion wasn't there, and they had a timid start. That was very clear. The Lions went in with a lot more confidence than the Aussies did. But then I think that the Hugh Jones try that got ruled out, so what should have been the second try, and obviously Jones was probably disappointed as a result, because if it was allowed, even though it was the right decision by Ben O'Keefe and the rest of the refereeing team. What I will say is I thought O'Keefe had a fantastic refereeing game, clear, calm, concise, didn't rush into any decisions, but it was the right decision for the Jones try to be ruled out. I think that gave the Aussies a bit more confidence, because they thought actually it's the gap isn't that big. But if the Lions went 20 points up before halftime, I think it maybe would have demoralized them a bit more. But some people said because they kicked the ball out into touch just into the 81st minute or whatever, the game was over, they were 8 points down, they weren't going to come back and win it. People said, oh, that reflects a losing mentality. I disagree. You've got 2 more test matches to think about. You've already got a fairly long list of injuries, all of which you get those players back and there'll be a big impact, like Skelton, as you've mentioned, Bernice. So you don't want any more injuries in your squad. So when people are talking really negative about the Wallabies mentality, I completely disagree, because If they didn't believe in themselves, they wouldn't have gone on to score multiple tries in that second half. That is not a representation of a team that doesn't believe themselves. It is a team that backs themselves, or at least individual players in that team that backs themselves. And you saw that when Tizzoni came off the bench, comes on to score a try, major impact. That's what the Aussies had and what the Lions didn't.
Yeah, and they stayed in the fight, even though it felt like the Lions were in control most of the match. They stayed in the fight, and you got to give them that. So I definitely have to agree with you to disagree with with that statement because yeah, I didn't see that they just went like, oh, okay, we're not gonna win this match. We're not even gonna try. I didn't see that.
No, I didn't see that
So
either.
yeah, no.
Out of the three, I see it getting more exciting. And I think the
Yeah.
stadium, as I said kind of at the top of the show, was quiet because I think the Lions fans, which there were more Lions fans than there were Wallabies fans in that stadium, just when the TV panned around, you saw swathes of red, swathes and swathes of red. I think everyone was expecting the Lions to beat the Wallabies by 20. And I know you
Yeah.
predicted by 9, I said by 12, you were obviously closer by 1 point than I was, but we were kind of in that margin where we thought it was going to be comfortable for the Lions, but not necessarily kind of a walkover. No team's going to walk over ever, not particularly none of those classic traditional Southern Hemisphere rugby nations. But there's definitely been issues flagged on both sides. And as a result of that happening in the first test, I think it's only going to get better coming into next weekend and the week after. But overall, Lions were the better team, deserved to win, but I do think they were nervous. And hopefully, now that they've played the first match, won the first match, got that under their belt, the nerves will just temper out and you will just see them relax more and play that confident, fast paced style of rugby.
The spacing in their defense I thought was so good. They really hold the line so well in the defense. I thought the Lions defense were outstanding.
Yeah, so some really great things to work on, a major improvement throughout this tour. And I think it's going to be a great contest. But my prediction is still going to be 3-0 to the
Ooh.
Lions on this tour. Yeah, I'm backing them. I'm backing the Northern Hemisphere boys.
You
But we'll
have
see what
to. You
happens.
have to.
Right, we will move on to the Springboks. They played Georgia, coming off the back of 2 wins against Italy in their summer tests. And I think the Springboks were a bit sleepy in the first 5 minutes. Georgia came out with a bang, scored a great initial try off the maul. But then after that, the Springboks just destroyed them.
Yeah, and I think so. First of all, I do want to say massive congrats to the junior Springboks for being world champs.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a great match, and yeah, we just want to say congrats to them. Back to the big box. It was a slow start for the Springboks. We knew going into that match, Georgia's set pieces were going to be great, and they are a very physical side. So I think when they scored the try, all of us were a little bit like, oh, sitting upright, like,
Yeah.
we're just a little bit like, oh, okay, that's uncomfortable. Yeah, I do have to say, I'm still struggling to see the clear like grounding, but I'll leave that to to the referee. I'm not here to judge his decision making. I'm just saying what I saw and what I didn't. So I think in the spirit of the match, just give it to them. Like it's okay, really. But yeah, it was definitely a slow start. There were still a lot of handling errors in the match overall. And it was a frustrating match. A lot of stop start from both ends, but from the Springboks as well. There were a lot of combinations tested. So Damon Arlinda and Kanan Moody playing together. I thought Kanan Moody again was really good on the attack. Fassi was a little bit quiet. I hope to see more of him in the match, but yeah, it's just the type of match that it was. He didn't do anything wrong. Still had a solid performance. It just, yeah, we used to seeing a lot of him.
Maybe is the right word. You're used to seeing pizzazz, and there was no pizzazz.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I think overall it was a very good match to see like the front row, the debutants. I think they had a very solid performance. Manus van der Merwe scoring 2 tries on his debut. I don't think you can dream of a better debut than that.
No.
And then also Boan Venter scoring a try, which is great. I was really hoping because it was Boan Venter, Manus van der Merwe. I was hoping for Neethling Fischer to score a try. But yeah, overall, I think the debutants had a good performance. And I think this time around, the bench made an impact, a big impact.
Yeah.
Erge Snyman's offloads were just insane.
So
Like
good.
that last few minutes of play was incredible. And yeah, that's just what he's good at.
And it's not being selfish either.
Mm.
Because, like, you do, particularly if you're a winger, or even if you're in the back line, having the glory of that space and the score in the try, it's going to make the highlight reel. You want to be
Mm.
known, be like, you want to take a bit of glory, don't you? Because you work hard. It's nice to be recognised. But equally, at the same time, I think the way that discussions around rugby are going towards is also praising the people that set up those lovely tries. And Snyman did that quite a lot. So yeah, I think the Springboks offloaded at the right time, supporting their teams rather than going, oh no, I'm going to hold on because I think I can do it, which is great. And sometimes you need that gritty determination, particularly in those clutch games where it's like 2 minutes down in a final and there's 2 points in it. And if you could score, you're going to change the history of rugby, like whether it's in a World Cup or a club league or whatever it may be. Note on Pollard, I think he lost a bit of his confidence at the end of the English club season with his kicking. And I think that wobble has gone. From what I saw, he looked to play very, very confidently. Slots a gorgeous kick, quite a difficult angle as well. Scores a try, comes back in. He looks like he's back home and loving it, absolutely loving it. So that's great to see. It's always hard when you see a player who you know how good they can be, and they're maybe having a bit of a wobble, and it's just getting that confidence back. And actually, when you're at the top, when you have such great physical capabilities, actually the hardest thing is sometimes the mentality. You can tweak the physicality bits with small technique changes, but Finn Russell spoke about it in a post-match interview, and he was saying Owen Farrell came over to him in the warm-up and just said, just take your time doing your kicks. You just need to take a deep breath. And actually, I know some people have their opinions about maybe the nepotism and the choice behind Andy Farrell picking Owen Farrell in the Lions squad, but Owen does bring that experience. And sometimes just having someone on your side to go, mate, you can do it. Just take a deep breath. No need to rush it. So it was interesting. Russell talking to Sky Sports, how he was just saying, sometimes it's just about taking your time and taking a deep breath and just calming yourself before you do it. And that's why you see a lot of club teams now. I know Glasgow do it. They go in a circle and they do a lot of breath work because it's that leading that breath. And maybe some people might go, oh, this sounds a bit too Zen, Zen BS, but centering yourself. I like my yoga. So the breathing, it really does help the mentality and just relax your body. And when people get stressed and stuff, just thinking it's not that big a deal. Deep breath, move on, and it's better. So, and Finn Russell's kicking was excellent. For me, as a 10, traditionally, he is stronger when it comes to ball in hand, but his kicking was fantastic.
But I have also seen that Rassie have said he's done with the experiments now for the Rugby Championship. So it's going to be a lot more serious, no more funny business and everything. But I think these few tests against Italy and Georgia were great for us to test those combinations and to see kind of where we are headed in terms of depth and in terms of first choice players and also bench. And so I think the tests were really good in terms of that. And on Pollard, I think he just had a great game. It felt like when he came on, he just calmed everything down. We know that Pollard is very cool, calm, and collected, but yeah, just his experience and the way he played was incredible, and I think exactly what we needed. Yeah, and I also really liked Kobus Visa at 8, so it was kind of one visa in, another one out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but great to see him at 8. I felt like he filled in pretty well for Jasper. So yeah, that was very good to see. And I also thought that Grant Williams, like that man is just like he's back like he never left. And I know it's his second game now for the season that he's played, but yeah, I always loved him for the Sharks. And then when he got the injury, he was out for most of the season. And yeah, I just felt like from the moment he stepped foot into the Springbok team again this season, he just looks like he belongs there. And I think he should definitely be our first choice for scrum halves. But on saying that, I thought Faf had a really great game. I thought when he came on, because Grant's distribution of the ball was super quick and just his overall attacking play, but Faf was really good as well. Faf was equally as fast as Grant was when distributing the ball. And Faf is insane on defense. He just made so many tackles. You'd see him tackle one person and then get up to tackle another person. So his work rate also incredible. And then the man of the match performance by Rowan Orkia. I think he's like that quiet guy that you don't really see much of, or he's not really that flashy, outspoken person, but he does the job and he's really good at what he does. He's such a hard worker on the pitch, and he took most of the line-out balls in the first half. I thought Manus van der Merwe was really good in terms of line-outs in the first half. And then, yeah, just Ron Orkia's defense as well. Very good.
Well, very comprehensive win for the Springboks, all contributing to Razzie's master plan, that big clock that is ticking. I think as well with that experiments, just on that, we're seeing a couple of other nations try that out, particularly England. Obviously, they had their fixture against the USA at the weekend, which was very weird. But I was going to stay up to watch it and didn't because it got delayed by half an hour. Then it got delayed again, and then it got delayed again. And I think a lot of other people also found the commentary on that match incredibly amusing. I did watch the highlights and I thought, yeah, the Americans are definitely much better at American football than they are at rugby, but they are improving in all areas. So, but a match like that for a team like England, it caps a couple of other players and just increases, I suppose, the depth of squad that you can pick from. Although a lot of the guys that did start in that game, I don't think will be called up for the training squad for the Autumn Nations, but it's still good to have given them the run out and trying to prove themselves. And it only improves English rugby, but England's performance in Argentina was incredibly comprehensive. I'm not going to go into too much detail about that, but I'm very chuffed to beat the Los Pumas on home soil and to clutch it in that final few minutes, that JVP final try. Brilliant. I'm really excited for English rugby as an England fan. I'm also looking forward to when England and the Springboks eventually play each other, because I think where both squads are going, it's going to be a really competitive game. I hope it will be anyway. And just a word on a couple of the Scottish boys. We've got Darcy Graham, who's been called up to the British and Irish Lions squad. I know we were both so happy about that because we said in the original selection that we were surprised that he wasn't picked. You've also got Gregor Brown, who's been called up. We're recording this on Sunday. He has been called up as of the 20th of July. Gregor, he improved massively in the 23-24 season at Glasgow Warriors and then went on to be a prominent part of Scotland's side in the Men's Six Nations. So I think it's a great selection. He's kind of everywhere. So, and I think, how old is he? Same age as me, similar age to me, early 20s. So, which is fantastic. Long career in the second row in front of him. So, I think it's a great selection in terms of where the injuries are in the squad at the moment. So, I know Scotland will be incredibly proud. I also know some Scottish rugby fans will be like, it's about time you picked Darcy Graham. So, but he just offers something a little bit different on the wing compared to Dewey, to Freeman, to James Lowe. So I think that is also a wise selection. But you also, in the original 38-man squad, you can't pick a whole team of wingers because the wingers like to run and they like to run in one direction, don't they? You need to pick some versatile players. But we're personally really happy for Darcy on this show. Really deserves it. So congratulations to the other Scottish boys as well that got called up, and Jamie George, who's got called up to the Lions as injury cover for Luke Cowan-Dickie. Right, we're going to end the show there. Thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Her Side of the Ruck. We are back full-time now with weekly podcast episodes. We're also going to be ramping up more coverage on our YouTube channel with vlogs, with just other content that we think is pretty cool talking about rugby. If you want us to talk about anything in particular, please let us know in the comment section below or drop us an email. You can find that in the description. Also, if you'd like to follow us on socials, those links are in our bio down below. But for now, thanks for watching. Signing off in the UK is me, Tash.
Signing off from South Africa is me, Bernice.
Thanks for watching. See you again soon. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.